Welcome to Operation Healing Heroes. Join me in the boat today as we feature 98-year-old World War II Navy veteran, Bill Kruschel.
They served for us. They sacrificed for us. Their stories deserve to be told. Every military veteran has a story to tell. Join our host, Jay Garstecki, as we honor the stories of our true American heroes, one soldier at a time. The mission today is Operation Healing Heroes. Brought to you by Great Clips. White Bear Lake, the ideal destination to explore the beauty and excitement of Minnesota. It's here that Bill Kruschel calls home. At 98 years young, Bill is part of a quickly dwindling number of World War II veterans, also known as the Greatest Generation. They were ordinary people who did extraordinary things, courage, sacrifice, and bravery that will withstand the test of time.
You must be Mr. Bill Kruschel.
Yes, sir.
I'm Jay Garstecki. Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you. Good Irish name.
Yeah? German.
Deutsch, huh?
No, Polish.
Polish.
And Italian.
Ah.
You want to come on board and catch some fish?
Growing up during the Great Depression
There we go.
All right.
and serving our country during World War II, Bill has no shortage of stories to tell. Stories that need to be heard.
Do you know where the fish are?
Not really. I don't fish out here.
No?
I don't have a boat.
And to this day, Bill will happily tell his stories to anyone who will sit and listen.
So tell me about life growing up.
Well, it's a long story, but I'll try to make it as short as possible. My mother and dad both came from Germany. So they met in 23, got married in 24. I was born in 25, my sister in 26, and my brother in 28.
Wow.
I grew up right in St. Paul, Minnesota, born on the east side on 6th and Mendota. We lived there until 1933, when unfortunately my father passed away, not knowing what his biggest medical problem was. They found that he was born with a hole in his heart. He was 42 years old and left my mother a widow in the middle of the Depression. You know, Mom being a widow, the people of the community really went to bat for her to help her. And, you know, it was all hard work back in those days. There were no tractors to speak of. During thrashing season, you had a team of horses and all the grain was shocked in the field and you threw it on the wagon and you brought it up to the thrashing machines. And I know this is hard to believe, but in 1937, I went to work for this farmer and I got $10 for the whole summer and room and board.
Really?
And I never worked that hard in my whole life.
And how old were you?
12.
12 years old.
Yeah. It was bad enough that I don't want to talk about it, you know.
Yeah.
But then every summer after that, I worked for the farmers in the local area. And then for instance, in 1941, Hastings was right down the road, you know, about 8 miles. And I found out I could go down there and set pins Friday and Saturday night. So I'd hitchhike down Highway 61 every Friday and Saturday.
Really?
Setting pins down there.
At the bowling alley?
Yep. You ready for this? 3 cents a line. You had to set 2 lines to make any money, you know.
But you never know. There's nice bass that are in here. Oh, you got one. That didn't take you very long.
Well, when you know what you're doing.
That's right. Well, you got a largemouth bass. I don't think it's going to set any world records, but you know what? We'll take it. First fish of the day on the second cast of the day for you, huh?
It'll work. Throw her in.
All right. You gonna get a bigger one?
Sure.
Operation Healing Heroes is brought to you by Great Clips, the Yance Valor Foundation, and by the Al Lynch Foundation.
Operation Healing Heroes is a nonprofit organization dedicated to documenting the lives of our U.S. military veterans. In addition, we also provide financial support and treatment for post-traumatic stress. Your donation will help heal our heroes.
The Great Depression was a daunting time, and losing his dad at an early age made it even more difficult for Bill. You see, Bill had to forego his senior year in high school and join the workforce. Off to California he went, at the age of 17 in his 1931 Model A.
And of course, being that the war was on, I knew I was on the list to be inducted, and I didn't want to, I wanted to enlist. The Navy just seemed to be the one opportunity that I wanted to jump onto, because when I drove back from California and saw all the Marines and the Army guys in the desert learning how to run, why, it didn't appeal to me at all.
What was going on in the world during that time?
Well, it was almost beyond imagination. Like, for an example, the night of Pearl Harbor, and when President Roosevelt announced it, I was sitting in the pin setter shack at the bowling alley all alone listening to it on the radio. The next thing I know, I'm on a train going out to the only boot camp that was built during World War II was a place called Farragut, Idaho.
Were you nervous? Were you scared?
No, when you're young and dumb, you know. The big thing was marching, you know, and then because it was in such a mountainous area, boy, we took hikes like you would not believe.
Oh.
Bill finished boot camp and was able to visit home for a couple of days before having to return to San Diego.
The Marine Corps is under the jurisdiction of the Navy, so they have no medical department. That's how all of us guys ended up with the Marines. How they determined we all were going to be pharmacist mates or medics in the Navy is beyond me. The nurse running the ward that I worked on insisted that I wear white Navy clothes for cleaning the floor, and I insisted that I needed my jeans on, and the next day I was on my way to the Marine Corps. That was my introduction to the Marine Corps. You know, the first thing they did is took all my clothes and give me Marine clothes. Because I wore them, I even got discharged in a Marine Corps uniform.
Did you?
Yeah.
Not in the Navy, huh?
Nope. Then all of a sudden, I think there was 400 of us on board the USS Robin Doncaster, a troop ship. We all went across the equator, and you've probably heard that you're a pollywog until you go across the equator, and all the Navy guys on board the ship put you through a physical routine you wouldn't even believe to make you a shellback.
Newly minted shellback, Bill and his crew arrived at the islands of the South Pacific, where he would get more training as a medic and eventually head to the front lines.
While I was there, I don't know if you heard of anything called phlebitis. It's a blood condition. I had a blood clot right here in my groin, or my calf, that made the lymph node in my groin so bad I couldn't walk. And that was just before I was ready to go to Peleliu. And the next thing I knew, 4 guys came in with a stretcher, put me on it, drove me right up and carried me right into the hospital into surgery. And I'll always remember the physician said, "I see you're a corpsman." Yeah. Well, he said, "This isn't much of an operation. If you want to watch it, here's a mirror." And 3 days later, I went back to duty.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
Oh, hell yes.
You watched the whole thing with a mirror, huh?
Yeah. Having a medical problem like that is something that most people have no concept of, but it was my good fortune to have it at a time that kept me from probably being wounded or killed on Peleliu.
Operation Healing Heroes is brought to you by Great Clips, Power Pole, and by St. Croix Rods.
And Eunice Shriver was our speaker. What do you say to Eunice Shriver? Boy, she looked at me with those steely blue eyes, you know. All I could say to her was, "God bless you, Eunice." And she wouldn't let go of my hand.
If you'd like to see more behind-the-scenes footage, follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're a U.S. military veteran in Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, or beautiful sunny Florida, log on to our website, takeavetfishing.org, to find an event near you.
Bill's medical emergency kept him from joining the 1st Marines as they attacked the island of Peleliu in what ended up being one of the deadliest battles in the history of the Marine Corps. At battle's end, at least 1 out of 3 troops was either injured or killed.
Most of these islands nobody had ever heard of. Even to this day, when I ask anybody, have you ever heard of the island of Peleliu? 90% never ever heard of it.
Bill and the 1st Marine Division headed to Okinawa to join in on an ongoing battle that would last 82 days. And it too came at a high cost. At one point, Bill worked alongside other medics for 3 days straight without relief, treating wounded as they came in off the front lines.
The casualty rate there was quite high as well, and you really don't understand war wounds until you see them. Because boy, when you're in combat, you know, front lines, you don't have much in the way of bandages.
Sure.
You know, the best thing you got is morphine and a tourniquet.
Yeah. So you guys would bandage them up before they went on to
depending on the severity,
hospital ship.
you know.
Yeah.
And the worst ones were guys that nobody ever talks about, that psychologically they were having a hell of a time.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever thought about the psychology of war and how it affects the guys. And if they did, there wasn't anything they could do about it. And I felt so damn sorry for those guys because we didn't have anything to help them, you know.
And that was basically PTSD at that point.
Sure.
And they didn't even know what it was back then, right?
No. Combat fatigue.
Yeah.
That's what they called it. Combat fatigue. Then we were getting all ready to go to Japan, the whole division. We were going to attack Japan. And they dropped the big one. You never saw so many happy men in all your life.
Yeah.
We had to treat a couple of guys with gunshot wounds because they shot in the air, you know. God. Most of us had been in the Pacific at least a year and a half to 2 years, but a lot of them had years. And we finally got to civilization. You know, number one, the war was over when we went to China. It was one of the happy days of my life, you know, as was for everybody that was on that ship.
So how long were you on that deployment before you got to go home?
Well, I was over there 2 years. We left China maybe about 8th of December of 1945 in the middle of a typhoon. It was so bad the props come out every wave, you know. And it was a horrible ride. Oh God, it was horrible. And we finally ended up in Guam on Christmas Day. And it was so hot there that we had to eat our dinner, our Christmas dinner, on topside. We went down to the mess hall to get it and come back up. And from there, that ship never stopped until it got to San Diego. So I got over to the Naval Air Station in Minneapolis, and it was a great experience. 3 days we were there. And then my mother and sister were brought out by friends. And when we got done crying and hugging, my sister shoved me away and she looks at me and says, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I don't know. She said, "Your skin's all yellow." We all took Atabran every day to keep from getting malaria. And it turned the pigment in your skin yellow, so we were all yellow.
Really? Wow.
It was an incredible experience with my mother and sister, you know. You can't see much through tears.
Is it a big one?
No.
No, small one? Oh, it looks like a sunfish. Oh, that's not a bad one.
Oh,
And there was a few of them that are even chasing it.
good heavens.
He had 3 of them that were chasing him.
Put a treble hook on there.
Yeah, if we'd had trouble, we might have gotten all of them, huh? That's not a bad one. Look at that.
No, that's nice.
It's almost a handful. I don't know if it'd be an eater or not. Maybe a little bit too small, but
Yeah.
let's see if there's some bigger ones out there.
The ARC Minnesota promotes and protects the human rights of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, actively supporting them and their families in a lifetime of full inclusion.
If you'd like to personally thank a veteran that you've seen in one of our episodes or nominate a veteran to be featured in a future episode, log on to our website, operationhealingheroes.org.
Operation Healing Heroes is brought to you by Recon Boats, Thorne Brothers, and by FVP. While Bill's retirement has brought him joy and serenity in White Bear Lake, his commitment to serving his country has extended far beyond the war. Devoting his life and leaving behind a lasting legacy, Bill has dedicated himself to furthering the advancement of special education, a pursuit fueled by the remarkable strength and bravery of his mother.
The best thing in my life was my mom, you know. Because, you know, when you're 8 years old and you lose your dad, it's a whole new world.
Yeah. What happened to Mom?
She lived to 101 and 8 months.
Wow.
Well, my little sister is 97 and my little brother's 95.
So what's your secret to staying this healthy at 98 years old?
Well, the first thing is my faith. You gotta have faith. The second thing is you gotta be positive about life, because there's nothing on the other side. Negative is nothing.
So did you return with any battle fatigue or PTSD?
No.
Anything you saw while you were over
I
there?
was just so busy in my life. Fell in love with a gal and we got married in '48. I moved to St. Paul Park, my old home. When I look back at my whole life, it couldn't be better. Now, let me give you one example. My youngest son is a mentally challenged man. He's 66 years old. Back then, they only had two ways of identifying those children. They were educable or non-educable. Jeff was educable, but there wasn't a class. So I really went to work in the community to put it all together, to convince the school board to get one. They did. And so I established an elementary school class. And then in 1967, I got a $70,000 a year grant to run that thing. And it's still running today, Jay, up
Is it
in
really?
Winstead.
That's amazing.
But, you know, the inspiration that having a handicapped child brings into your life is beyond imagination. Like my son and his wife both had their master's degree in special ed and spent 70 years teaching. They have a daughter that's all involved in it today as a special ed teacher. She's 41 years old. They got a son that just got his master's degree and just started a full-time job in one of the great little communities just west of Minneapolis.
Wow. Talk about paying it forward, huh?
Oh, just think about what that means to my life. You know, it's a miracle in a sense.
Little did you know that school that you'd start would end up.
Oh, today it's one of the premier classes in special education in the United States.
Wow.
There's a part of life that most people never get to know that I lived, to see the evolution of that whole process. And Barb and I led a life that you can't even imagine. Just a great lady, mother of 7 children. When she told her children she met a guy with a motorcycle, they said, "You're crazy, Ma." And once I got her on it, I couldn't get her off the motorcycle. It was a great life. A great life.
So on behalf of Operation Healing Heroes and St. Croix Rods and also Thorne Brothers, who custom made this rod for you. It's a red, white, and blue rod. It's got your name on it here. It says,
Oh my God.
Bill Kruschel, an appreciation of your sacrifice and service. That's a rod that hopefully you catch many more fish with.
God.
98 years old, I figure you're only about halfway through, right?
Yeah.
So you still got another 98 years left in that bad boy. And in order to make you look a little bit better, and I don't even know if that's possible, I got you your own Operation Healing Heroes jersey here with your name on it.
God, Jay.
And Kruschel on the back. I hope you wear that proud at your VFW meetings.
Boy.
Let them know that you're a TV star now. Thank you for your service. Can I give you a hug?
Sure.
Thank you very much for your service. We appreciate it. You're known as the greatest generation for a reason.
Well, you know, there was a bunch of us. There's not many of us left.
I know. If you'd like to personally thank a veteran that you've seen in one of our episodes, or nominate a veteran to be featured in a future episode, log on to our website, operationhealingheroes.org, and click on the nominate button.